It's personal between me and you, and I'm going to do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with thousands of True School Sports subscribers. All right, so I wanted to discuss, the inner city legend himself, John Scrappy Ramirez, a very intriguing fighter in the super flyweight division. He had his fight this past weekend with Panamanian Ronal Bautista. It was a WBA eliminator fight. So with the win, John Scrappy Ramirez is now the mandatory challenger to the WBA belt, which is held by none other than Kazuto Ioka. Now, Scrappy, much respect to him, after his stoppage against Ronal Bautista, he was very vocal about wanting to fight Kazuto Ioka and willing to go to Japan to fight Kazuto Ioka for the belt. So I like the ambition. I like the fact that he is calling him out, and I have no doubt about it. If the opportunity presents itself, John Scrappy Ramirez will fight Kazuto Ioka out there in Japan. Now, before we get into Scrappy versus Ioka, let's talk about Scrappy's performance against Ronal Bautista, because let's rewind a little bit. Last time I talked about Scrappy Ramirez, he had a fight against Fernando Diaz. That was back in May. I think it was May or January. I can't remember if it was May or January, or maybe it was the last fight. It was 2 fights before that when he fought Luis Padilla. It was one of those fights. And the last time I seen him fight, he underwhelmed. He wasn't quite sensational as he was in previous fights, and I was looking for that from him, right? So he had 2 fights where he could have looked better, but he won nonetheless. And they stepped him up against Ronal Bautista. Now, Ronal Bautista is a fighter that's been in there with some names we know in this division. Like, for example, the fight before John Ramirez, he challenged Julio Cesar Martinez for the WBC title. It took him 11 rounds before he got stopped, right? He had that fight with him. So it was a chance for Ramirez, Scrappy, to measure himself against one of the other champions and make a statement. The statement was made. The statement was made. John Ramirez stopped Bautista in the 4th round, which is obviously clearly a lot better than Julio Cesar Martinez did. And he looked good, man. He held his ground in the pocket. He was defensively sound for the most part. And he was explosive. He was punching around the guard, through the guard. And he looked like a legitimate contender in the super flyweight division. So he's WBA mandatory now, and he's calling out Kazuto Ioka. Now, Scrappy's one of these guys. He doesn't have no long amateur background. He picked up boxing late, but he's got athleticism and he's explosive and he's got a great personality. So I feel like there's value in Scrappy to add to this division, right? Because it's no disrespect to none of the other fighters, but there's a bit of a disconnect here in the States, right? Because a lot of these fighters, they come from like Japan and Nicaragua, Mexico. They don't speak English, right? So the fact that we got a guy who not only speaks English and is American, but also has a good story and is likable and is fun to watch, I think it's a positive for the division. So I'm not gonna front. Him versus Ioka is gonna be a very, very difficult task. Now, he's mandatory now, which means that Ioka don't gotta fight him right away. Ioka can, Scrappy don't gotta fight him right away, and neither is Ioka. He's got about a year to fight him. So we'll see how it goes. I know that the last I heard of Kazuto Ioka, they were discussing a potential fight between him and Gaio Estrada for New Year's Eve out there in Japan. And obviously, Gaio Estrada, one of the true warriors of this division. He's a great fighter. Him versus Ioka would be probably one of the only fights from that era. Chocolatito, Gaio, Cuadras, that whole era that hasn't happened yet, that people want to see, and I'm sure it would do good business in Japan, and so obviously that'll be priority for Ioka. However, I also think that if that fight winds up happening and Scrappy has to wait a little bit, it would be actually more advantageous to Scrappy, because it'll give Scrappy a chance to maybe go in the gym, work on some things, maybe get another fight in, sharpen some things up even more, and age these guys out a little bit, because that would also work to his advantage, right? To age these guys out, because there's going to be a clear gap in experience due to Ioka's professional career and his background and what Scrappy's done. But nonetheless, I saw a guy in there last night that look, I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to dominate the division, but he looks the part of a legitimate contender in the weight class, and I want to see him in some bigger fights down the road. So yeah, shout out to Scrappy for a hell of a performance. I mean, let's take a look. If he doesn't fight Ioka next, which by the way, I mean, Kazuto Ioka is a great fighter. I think he's actually the most underrated fighter from Japan. For those that know, for those that don't know, Kazuto Ioka has the most career world title defenses of any active fighter in boxing. More than Crawford, more than Inoue, more than Canelo, more than Roman Gonzalez, more than everyone. 16 world title defenses. So if you beat him, you take that belt from him in Japan, it's big stuff. So I understand what that could mean for Scrappy's career. But as far as Scrappy's concerned right now in his career at this juncture, I mean, there's still some great fights out there for him. I mean, I know there's rumors of Kosa Tanaka now fighting Roman Gonzalez. But Roman Gonzalez is ranked number 4. That could be a fight, maybe potentially. But nonetheless, he may be forced to have to wait. If this, because you got to remember, Ioka has the WBC belt. He has the WBC belt. Ioka has the WBA belt. That is a unification fight. Obviously, with Gaio Estrada being who he is in the weight class and Ioka being a big star out there in Japan, unification fight will take precedence over a Scrappy Ramirez fight. And the fact that it could be on New Year's Eve, which is, for those of you who don't know, in Japan, the New Year's Eve fight is a big deal. It's like the equivalent in Japan of a Mexican fighting on Cinco de Mayo here in the States, you know, something like that. It's on that level. So the fact that they're talking about that fight for that particular date, that's going to take precedence over this. But nonetheless, I would love to see John Ramirez fight Kazuto Ioka, because I feel like, you know, Ioka, we've seen Ioka when he fought Joshua Franco. Joshua Franco, I don't think is as skilled of a fighter as Ioka, but Joshua Franco is a very active fighter, lets his hands go on. Some people thought he won the first fight, and some people think he won the second fight. So there is this notion that maybe Ioka is slipping, and if you put a guy in there like John Ramirez, who's explosive and young and can punch, you know, it could be a better fight than we think. But obviously, Ioka would have to go in as a clear favorite with his experience and those kind of things. But nonetheless, I just want to make this video talk about Scrappy because I thought he performed exceptionally well in his fight and he deserved to be talked about. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think about a fight down the road with John Scrappy Ramirez and Kazuto Ioka? Because he's WBA made it mandatory now. He's made his intentions clear. He wants that fight. He's willing to go to Japan. He wants to smoke. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys. Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. For more great boxing content just like this video, click right here and make sure you subscribe. Much love from sunny South Florida.